Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here, 4:25 a.m. Central Time on Friday, January 30th, 2015. And I'm going to play a video for you that you just have to watch all the way through to the end. This is the National Park Service straight up telling us that there's a 2-week time frame for eruption at Yellowstone. And they say there's two camps of people now, those who believe that it could erupt tomorrow or in near term, and those who believe it'll never erupt. That's the two camps now. Those who believe it's going to erupt tomorrow, and those who believe that it will never erupt. That's the mainstream news reporter here at the end. This park geologist, he's not just a ranger, he's an actual park geologist who runs the command center there. When asked what's the time frame for the eruption, he says 2 weeks. And this was January 29th, and I've got the website open. Here's the website right here. I'll put a link to this down below. You guys can check it out yourself. Again, January 29th, 10:50 p.m. last night. So, get the word out, guys. I mean, they're not misspeaking. You can watch the whole video, listen for yourself, and then I play it again just so you can hear it again at the end. Cheers. Be safe, guys.
This is video from 8 days ago of the Colima volcano in Colima, Mexico, erupting and sending a large ash cloud into the air. This volcano has been active and periodically erupting for the last 2 months now. The last major volcanic eruption on U.S. soil was Mount St. Helens in Washington State back in May of 1980, which destroyed 230 square miles of mostly wilderness, but some buildings too. What a lot of people don't know is that there is a large volcano underneath Yellowstone National Park. This volcano is active, and it is being watched 24 hours a day. Nature is in control at Yellowstone. Bison roam free. Crystal clear water flows freely. On the surface, it's tranquil. It's what's happening beneath the ground that brought us here.
So we are on top of the volcano. We're here sensing the moods and personality changes of the volcano.
Hank Hessler has been a Yellowstone National Park geologist since 2002. 5 years ago, the U.S. Park Service asked him to move his home into a residential area inside Yellowstone following a series of intense earthquakes.
It was proceeding in an unusual way, so we went to an incident command system and talked about ways to get park staff out.
No evacuations were needed, but it was a wake-up call.
And all the heat that's coming out is due to the fact that we have molten rock, partially molten rock, within a few miles of the surface.
The molten rock created by the volcano is the force behind Yellowstone's series of hot water geysers. There are 900 worldwide. 500 of them are here.
And that's all tied to the heart of Yellowstone, which is the underlying volcano.
On this cold wintry day, the heat from these geysers meeting the cold air sends stacks of steam into the air. What you can't see but might feel are the earthquakes, which happen here almost daily. In 2010, when Hank Hessler was asked to move into the park, there were more than 3,200 earthquakes. The following year, that number fell to 670. In recent years, earthquake activity has been ramping up again. More than 1,800 in 2013, more than 1,900 last year. Some quakes are relatively small, magnitude 1s. One last March was a 4.8.
So just the frequency of earthquakes doesn't necessarily mean it's a suicidal place to be or live.
Hessler tells me outside of California, Yellowstone is the most seismically active place in the nation.
Volcanism is in Yellowstone's future. There's no doubt about it.
The question many are asking, will it be a super eruption? Earth science professor Dr. Brennan Jordan at the University of South Dakota in Vermilion is one who wants to know.
This is the what's called the Hartford ash.
The last time the Yellowstone volcano had a super eruption, 640,000 years ago, it covered eastern South Dakota in 12 inches of volcanic ash. This white chalky substance in Dr. Jordan's hand is ash from that eruption, found 65 feet below the ground in Hartford.
It would be devastating if it happened, and it's due.
Dr. Jordan tells me we've entered the time frame for another major Yellowstone eruption, although he believes it won't erupt for another 100,000 years. But the United States Geological Survey is taking the threat seriously now. This map, produced by the USGS last year, shows the affected zone of a Yellowstone eruption and predicts eastern South Dakota would be covered in 5 inches of volcanic ash. Western South Dakota, 8 inches or more.
when the impact is as great as it could be, then we do pay a certain amount of attention to that.
If Yellowstone had a super eruption right now, Dr. Jordan says crops would be lost, making it impossible to feed cattle, which would die. Grocery store prices would skyrocket as meat, grain, and milk would be in short supply. Face masks would be mandatory, as breathing in volcanic ash is essentially the same as breathing in small particles of glass.
This is a supervolcano eruption. This is, the sort of thing that Yellowstone is capable of.
One thing that Yellowstone has taught me is that everything changes, so be careful in what you predict and forecast.
In addition to Hank Hessler living on site at Yellowstone, there are monitors and sensors all over the park, measuring ground movement, ground temperature, the temperature of the water coming from the geysers, all of it to stay ahead of what's happening under Yellowstone. Researchers like Hank, who study both seismic and volcanic activity here at Yellowstone, say they are fairly certain that there will be no type of volcanic eruption here in the foreseeable future. But then I asked Hank to define foreseeable future.
Now, what do we mean by foreseeable future? I would say, a couple of weeks, and that's what I would say with certainty.
The mystery here is what happens next. Life here seems to move slow, but geologically, seismically, and volcanically, things are changing and in motion all the time. And if you're in the business of being certain about things, like Hank Hessler is, it makes your job very, very challenging. The people who actively watch this situation seemingly fall into two camps: those who think the Yellowstone volcano will never erupt again, and those who believe it'll happen tomorrow. The truth is, no one knows for sure when it will happen again, but the experts we've spoken with and several others say it will happen. They also say, should it happen in our lifetimes, it will mean hard times for a long time.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I just got to stop this really quick here. I just have to replay that. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the video editor and replay it. If he just said what I thought he said, I have to put this out on my main channel as a public service to everyone and to get the word out. I don't know if this was them trying to tell us, the headline on here. Okay, I mean, this is January 29th, updated 10:50 p.m. I mean, you heard what he just said, but let's just listen to it again.
Researchers like Hank, who study both seismic and volcanic activity here at Yellowstone, say they are fairly certain that there will be no type of volcanic eruption here in the foreseeable future. But then I asked Hank to define foreseeable future.
Now, what do we mean by foreseeable future? I would say, a couple of weeks, and that's what I would say with certainty.
The mystery here is what happens next. Life here seems to move slow, but geologically, seismically, and volcanically, things are changing and in motion all the time. And if you're in the business of being certain about things, like Hank Hessler is, it makes your job very, very challenging. The people who actively watch this situation seemingly fall into two camps: those who think the Yellowstone volcano will never erupt again, and those who believe it'll happen tomorrow. The truth is, no one knows for sure when it will happen again, but the experts we've spoken with and several others say it will happen. They also say, should it happen in our lifetimes, it will mean hard times for a long time.
Well, guys, I mean, there you go. He said it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He said 2 weeks. And then the news reporter finishes it off by saying that there's now just two camps of people. Those who say it will erupt tomorrow, or the next couple of weeks, I guess, and those who believe it will never erupt. Which I don't think there's anybody out there who believes it will never erupt, so there's only the camp of people who believes it's going to erupt soon. This is crazy. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, it's not a misspeak. He deliberately says it. You heard it. So, get the word out, share the video, obviously, get the word out. Let's hope nothing happens. I'm going to take you over to Earthquake 3D, and, well, first let me read you my comment that I left for all my viewers here. Look, we know that the area rose 3 inches in 6 months' time last year, and that was just 6 months' time. I haven't seen the next 6 months. That information will be coming out soon, I guess. But 3 inches in 6 months' time and pushed 1/2 inch southeast. Now let me show you where Yellowstone is. Okay, here's where my mouse is. This is roughly the area of Yellowstone. The area was pushed 1/2 inch southeast in 6 months' time and rose 3 inches. Now, what does that mean? Pushed 1/2 inch southeast. Where's it going to go? There's all rock there. The whole thing has moved. And what's happened is it's caused a series of large and moderate earthquakes to occur along the edge of what's called the craton. And the craton is the unsubducted portion of the plate that exists from up here in the Pacific Northwest and goes down here through Colorado and New Mexico and then bends across the south and goes back up the east coast. You can see the mountain ranges here that define it. Well, right along there is a series of earthquakes that have happened at the fracking operations and a series of dormant volcanoes. And you can see, this is over the last 7 days, you can trace back the location of each one of these. And a lot of these go back to old dormant volcanoes. Now the 3.4 here, this blue earthquake that I just highlighted, that's at the western portion of the Yellowstone magma chamber. Now I just showed it to you. Here is Yellowstone. They've done underground measurements and found that the magma chamber extends all the way over here into central Idaho. And that's from the USGS and American Geophysical Union. Did whole studies on that, released in 2013 and 2014 with underground measurements, bouncing sound waves down into the ground off the magma chamber. And then that, of course, tells them the size and location of the magma chamber. And they found that it extends all the way over to here. So let me just thumb this up really quick, guys. The pressure that's coming from the Pacific Northwest is pushing on the western portion of the magma chamber, and it's causing noticeable earthquakes. Now, they said there were 1,900 earthquakes in 2014 in this location, in Yellowstone to Idaho. Well, we didn't see those on the map, so that means the USGS isn't reporting the earthquakes on the feed. Right? You can go check the charts. We already know this. You go check the charts of Yellowstone, you can see just massive earthquake activity, but nothing showing up on the USGS feeds. So what to make of it, guys? I don't know. Always be prepared. Don't be scared. Be prepared. And if nothing happens, then you'll have a nice little supply of food and water that'll take care of you and your family for a little while. But I'd say at this point, with that kind of report, it's kind of cryptic. So I'm going to prepare. I'm not going to take the chance. I'm going to go buy a little stock of food and water just in case. If I'm wrong, I'll be out, what, 50 to 100 bucks, I'll be out. But if I'm right, I'll have some food and water when everybody else is covered in ash and panicking. Is this how they're going to tell us? You never know. I mean, they could be this cryptic in the way they tell us when this kind of thing's going down. He said 2 weeks. So unless they come out and correct themselves, which they probably will, but unless they do, I'm going to stand by what he said and tell my viewers, look, guys, 2 weeks, prepare just in case, okay? Be safe and much love.